We're back. Joey and the Bing Bongs once again. Well, kind of. I guess we're not at full strength here as the Bing Bong parties. Now I'm here, but the Bing Bongs we're down a Bing Bong. Would you be a Bing Bong or a Binger Bonger?
I
Which would be
th-
more likely?
I think
I
we're big.
think we're I think we're Bing Bongs. Yeah.
Okay, all right, works for me. Folks, Fleet Week once again. Slightly delayed episode. I'm told there was some sort of big sporting event that happened yesterday. It seems the consequences of said event have resulted in no Tope Suicida, which is unfortunate. We wish him well. But nonetheless, we do have a lot of professional wrestling to discuss, which is apparently what we do on this show. Vibrator is ready to go. So much to get into. Expert panel as always. Young Dukes, how are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. I don't get asked that a lot around here.
Yeah,
I
thought I would,
really don't. Yeah,
help you out.
it's good stuff, man. I appreciate it. Chris, how are you tonight?
Feeling pretty good. I will sympathize with my good friend Tope Suicida and that the birds were robbed yesterday.
True.
But fun week of wrestling. I feel like I always say that now. But yeah, excited to talk about it.
Tremendous. I do want to know if folks, if you hear any sort of frightening noise from the background. Chris is a very busy guy, has a lot going on. Some meetings are waiting for him. He's put this
It's
first.
true.
Some of us have to make our dates, right, Chris? I mean, I know Tope can't relate, but you have to. Sometimes you have to do these
I'm a
things. for the sake of
professional.
content.
What can I say?
You are. You absolutely are. Speaking of professionals, let's get into the land of all elite wrestling. Before we do, quick plug. 1 week from today, the deadline for the brand new Fleet 50s, the 2022 Fleet 50s. Send your ballots in now, joeholbert05@gmail.com. What is the Fleet 50? Well, Dukes, thanks for asking. The Fleet 50 is your top 50 in-ring performers of AEW's 2022. In order, try to get 50 names in there. It's an important part of the Fleet 50. But honestly, I don't care. You can send half, whatever you want to do. If I'm not impressed by the placement of Dax Harwood, I do throw the ballots out. We have freestanding ballots right now. I've been sent 25. I've accepted 3. So, okay, everything I just said was a joke. Please do send the Fleet 50 ballots now. We have a week, folks. Okay, let's get into the land of all elite. All right, boys. I think the big headline was the match that came in the middle of the show, the bloodbath that came in the middle of the show. Roosh and Danielson. Now, I think we were all excited about this match. Manny was especially excited. I have to admit, I didn't quite expect this level of insanity. I knew it would be very good, but this was something that's pretty special. Dukes, what did you make of it? Danielson and Roosh, did it exceed your expectations, so on and so forth? What did you think?
Yeah, it definitely exceeded. It was like,
Yeah.
I knew they were gonna beat the shit out of each other, but I didn't really know which Roosh we were gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
But we got fucking El Toro Blanco, baby. We got a fucking killer. When they did the fucking spot on the outside and the blood splatter on the,
Yes.
I can't even explain how I felt.
Tremendous. Slight lag there for Young Dukes, which meant that he was actually speechless. He wasn't just using it as a matter of phrasing. Unless I imagine that. I don't know. Chat, tell me if I imagine that, in which case I apologize. But Dukes just without words. Chris, he can't even explain how he feels. His internet won't allow him to. Chris, what did you think of Roosh and Danielson?
Well, I heard Dukes, so
You did? This may be
Yeah.
a me thing. It could be a me thing.
I heard
Carry
him.
on, Chris.
But man, it was awesome. Just like the blood, and it's really. I mean, sometimes you can see in the background where like they wipe the camera, kinda, and they just didn't. They kept it the whole match with the blood on the camera. I thought that was really cool. I remember tweeting like, "Oh, Roosh is trying with like the alarm things,"
Yeah.
which is it's always nice to see. Man, he was really into it. The crowd was into it. Danielson was into it. Even Max's commentary throughout, could be annoying, but it was like it was really cool. I thought the whole story. I think, at least I know it's very divisive. I thought it was progressed a lot today.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Fair.
this week.
Sure.
Sorry, not today.
Yeah, I got
Just
you.
rattled.
Been there. I know what it's like. This kind of just momentarily stop and kind of consider this kind of place in Dynamite history, right? Because Dynamite's not. It's been on now for just over 3 years, but it is a show with immense depth in terms of match quality. And my instinctual reaction watching with Manny was like, that was one of the best ones I've seen. I think I really believe that. Dukes, you're a big list man. Where does this come in for you?
I mean, it's kind of crazy because I thought the same thing, but also there's been like 2 more of those this year.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's definitely the best Dynamite match this year so far. It's pretty easy.
We've got some vibe talk here. I agree with this core point. This was a very hard match to explain the sort of magic of.
Mhm.
There's only so many ways you can word good Lord Roosh was chopping him really hard, but
Yeah.
really was chopping him hard.
True.
He was just there was times where he got him in the corner and he was just battering Danielson. And the red on Brian's chest and the way that he wears that sort of assault that Roosh was dishing out, it was quite the vibe to quote you.
You really felt the pain with like
Did.
obviously the blood in his hair, but like I think every time he was obviously working the shoulder the whole time,
Mhm.
throwing him into it, like every single time, whether it was the chops or the the barricade spots, whatever, like you felt it. You felt
Yes.
you felt for him. Thought that was great.
Absolutely. It was like an extreme version of what we saw against Takeshita, where, the Takeshita match, you kind of had this idea that Brian looked like he was kind of outgunned in a chop
Mhm.
exchange, right, in that match, which was hilarious considering the discourse to follow. But this was like a really violent version of that, right, where it felt like it felt like he had nothing left by the end of it. Some of his stuff looked really tired, and it added to the match, to be clear. But Chris, what's your instinctual read on this one's place in AEW Dynamite history? What do you reckon?
It's definitely up there for sure. For me, for sure, top 10.
Mhm.
Probably around like I mean, obviously I can't think off the top of my head, but I would assume top 10. I think this year, I don't know, like I think I'd have to rewatch both to see Darby Joe or
Yeah.
this. They're really close in terms of like feel. They're
Mhm.
really close.
Different too, right? Like I agree with you. There's a lot of overlap in terms of the kind of chaos and violence, but there was, obviously that had a lot of like weaponry, and it was like an extended kind of epic in that genre. This was just shy of 15, and I don't even know if they're that far apart in length, but they felt very different in terms of structure. This didn't feel like an epic; it felt like a sort of snapshot of what they could do. Bruce was just in such rare form that you kind of got the full potential of the matchup just in this 15-minute match. I think Danielson has done so much in AEW, and he's kind of the quality of his work speaks for itself. But again, he does another example. He gives another example of just how much can be achieved with 15 minutes of in-ring time on TV, right? And Roosh certainly is kind of the biggest benefactor of that. But Danielson's work in AEW is historic, brother.
Right, and like even in this last 5 match stretch, even the cage match, I feel like every single person in defeat has looked incredible. Like
Yes, yeah. And this is something that's been kind of loosely reported. I know Ibu's talked about it a little bit on shows. We'll get into Ibu later, folks. A lot of controversy regarding his place on the Late Night Grin last Wednesday. Young Dukes, in particular, was very aggressive. I know he's kind of talked about like Brian was not really into what he was doing for a while there, and I agree with the third page of Larry Bird that it was it was noticeable, right? Like he was great. But this guy we're seeing the last couple of weeks is taking us back to where he was here, at the fall of 21, dare I say, where he was just the most unmatched, unparalleled wrestler on earth. It feels like he's coming back, fellas. An exciting time to be a Brian Danielson fan, I think it's fair to say. So,
Yeah.
much going on. We'll see how he does in the 60-minute match here coming up very, very shortly. I can't wait to kind of see what he has in mind for that. But yeah, he's back in a rhythm here, it appears to me. Speaking of such, we just mentioned Takeshita, and he shared a very strong one with Danielson a few weeks back. He had the opening match here with MJF. MJF's first match since the Ricky Starks match in December, which feels like even longer ago than it was, but that's still pretty damn long. I really, really like this one. Chris, what did you make of MJF's return to the ring? What did you think of this style matchup? What did you make of MJF and Takeshita?
I thought it was great. I thought the story of the beginning for me was really cool. Of like, MJF this entire time hasn't respected Takeshita, like since the moment they interacted, and for Takeshita, for him to be like, having his guard down and Takeshita rush him immediately, and he had all that momentum in the first minute, and then Max only cuts him off when he brings the ref in front of him. I thought that was great, and it kind of like adds towards the end when Max is like, he admits that Takeshita is like he's good. He's like,
Yes.
he gives him the credit finally. So I thought that added to Takeshita. Wow, it was great. Like again, Max proves every single time that he's that guy in the ring too. And obviously it helps that he's not wrestling every week. I like that this is like a monthly thing with him where we can just be like, wow, man, like he's great in there. And I think, the styles are very different, but they complemented each other a lot. Max showed his athleticism too. I think both guys really shined.
Yeah, Max has more range than he's given credit for, right? And I don't want to do the bit of like people think he sucks, bro, because I think most people are aware he's good, but I do think he's too often kind of pigeonholed stylistically. He can clearly do more than that. I think this match neatly encapsulated that. Dukes, what did you make of the opener on Dynamite?
Yeah, MJF is fucking like special in ring.
Mhm.
He's like, there was a time where I was like, not that I thought he was bad, but I was like, he's a promo guy because I started watching AEW like in the beginning of the pandemic. He didn't wrestle like fucking at all. So like, oh, he's like the Miz. But this guy, like ever since like what was like his first not first big breakout match, but I guess since crowds have been back, like the Darby match.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Darby
Darby
match.
match was big.
Ever
yeah.
since then, man, it's like holy shit. This guy is not just a fucking one trick pony. He can do literally anything in the ring. He's nuts.
I agree. The kind of the more polarizing piece increasingly is the promos. I know you fellas had a
Yeah.
great time with his work on Wednesday. What did you make of the? I know you kind of touched on it sort of broadly, Chris. What did you make of the overall work done on the build on Wednesday?
Man, I know that this isn't the Dukes and I have talked about this, but we're like the lone wolves in like this on that whole segment throughout. But man, like, I thought it was great. I thought it did a lot for the story. I
So
thought
did
the whole promo being about adversity and how they handle it differently. I feel like that was the if you're not watching every week, or if you're not you have no idea what the story's about. Just watching that promo and watching the segment before the match, you get it. Like you're like, okay, I understand. They're both facing adversity. One guy handles it, his way as the bad guy. The other one handles it by like overcoming Aubrey's, slow count. But regardless, I thought they did a really good job. I thought, that MJF promo. So not that I wasn't already sold, but it sold me a ticket for this feud in terms of like, the way he got heated. I knew. It's going to be special. I think the match, hopefully, we'll see.
I hope so too. I mean, it is worth noting. I know you guys, you feel like the kind of the outsiders when it comes to the MJF promo work as of late on this platform, but there was a lot of love for this promo online, right? I think you're probably in the majority overall. Promo got a wide range response. Dukes, I know you're kind of on board with Chris. What did you make of the whole thing?
It was shades of Arn Anderson when he told Cody that he was going to shoot somebody.
That was not necessary.
Let him cook, Joe. Let him cook.
That was not necessary. Chris, I had no problem. Do you see the way I had no problem with you praising it? That was a particular lane of praise. I'm going to bring him back now. That was not necessary.
I'm right.
That was not necessary. You're not going to cite his name.
He said
in this life.
He said, Cody, you handle things differently. I'm Arn Anderson. I pull out the Glock. That's the same. Listen,
it didn't need to happen. It did not need. You did not need to bring his name up on here. You might be right. Doesn't matter about being right. It was just inherently wrong on a moral level. You didn't have to bring up the enforcer when I was talking about MJF. That was not necessary. Carry on anyway.
It was really good. It was a little long, obviously, but I actually really liked the beginning part more. Like, I didn't hate the story. I thought it was good, especially when he got to the end. But in the beginning, when he had like the blood on the tape and he was like just talking, like being a dick to Lexi, like I like that. That was probably the best part of it.
I like that too. The locker room deal. Were you on board with Chris being pro that too?
Yes.
There you go.
They busted out the door and to catch the clothesline the security guard.
Was it a security guard or was it Vance?
It was Pero Pellegrino.
Peligroso.
Yeah, which is
Pero Peligroso. I'm sorry, that's what it's called on TV.
But it's listed as his nickname, right?
Yeah,
like it has it in like quotes, and then it has Preston Barnes.
Yeah.
I thought it was a piece of it was just they don't do that. They don't do that often. They don't run an angle like that often. I thought it was something new. And I
honestly didn't have a strong opinion on
Max's. I actually thought it really complimented Max's promo well of the adversity.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a strong opinion on it. I thought it was. I do like when they try stuff that's kind of cute and out of their regular playbook. It happens a lot with Max Fuse because I think it's pretty obvious he has a great deal of control over what's happening in his programs. I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, I do think it was strikingly un-AEW, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. That's kind of the point in some ways, right? So, nonetheless, the big kind of shift in terms of headlines from Dynamite came in the main event. The Guns are indeed the world's tag team champions. They did not win via Daddy Arse, Billy Gunn, whatever the fuck his name is now, getting involved. Instead, he did get involved. He got the shit kicked out of him. And then they won with that kind of FTR-esque deal, right? Because FTR used to that spot a lot, didn't they, with the belt? This was the big kind of debate coming out of Wednesday. I think, I don't want to talk for you guys, but on a personal level, because I kind of felt there was a really good chance they were going to leave with the belts, it didn't jar me and shock me the way it seemed to others, which is a rare time where doing this is actually like beneficial, because I think we all kind of felt there was a real chance they're going to be the tag champs, which some people apparently never walked past that bridge. That doesn't mean it's good necessarily. I don't know if this was quite the performance the Guns were looking for. Lots of different moving pieces here. Dukes, I'll start with you. What did you make of the main event? Let's start there, actually. Let's start with just what did you think of the match? And then we'll kind of talk finish, direction, all that stuff. What did you think of the match first, Dukes?
I think the match itself was it was fine. The ending was a little like slow. You could just see like the Guns just haven't done like a big finishing sequence kind of like that before. But other than that, I thought it was a good match. I didn't have any people were like, these guys can't fucking work. I thought it was like unoffensive.
Right. Would you say it's more a case of rather than them being bad, it's more, are they up to the standard? Is that, would you say that's more your, okay, it's fine. Because I saw a lot of different opinions. I rewatched it and thought it was just kind of nothing. I didn't think it was terrible, but I'm with you. It was like, there. Finish definitely got a little bit wonky. But Chris, what did you make of the match itself?
Yeah, I thought the match was fine. It was like a little bland at times for a title match, especially one where, the titles are going to change hands. I do agree with Dukes completely. I didn't really I couldn't put my finger on what it was, but I think it was their inexperience in that type of match that made the end. Like there was just so much going on, and with the Billy thing, I think that mixed with their inexperience made it feel a little clunky because they're not used to doing that like big angle type thing within a match. Because usually their matches don't go too long when they are in the ring. Yes. And I feel like it was just it was a little too it was a little too early for them to be doing all of that, I think. And obviously the titles too. But yeah, I think the fact that we talked it through and we're all kind of consensus, like, okay, the Guns are probably taking it. Yeah, it definitely, I wasn't as upset as most people were. I just thought Billy was turning. But it happened.
The one thing I will say is this does feel like a kind of moment in time where I think the conversations we've been having for months about this tag division have kind of come to fruition, right? In terms of there has been this sort of mythical, widespread opinion on the tag division that it's like loaded and stacked because it once was very much loaded and stacked without realizing they've split up so many teams and so many teams have faded away. This is where we've ended up. I mean, I think there are other interesting options. I like Butcher and Blade, but this is kind of the result of that whole trend. Now, I don't think they see that as like a great indictment because they seem to think the world of the Gun Club, or the Guns, what the fuck. They main evented Dynamite in November 2020 with Cody. They were undefeated on Dark for like a year. They're into this act, and I know a lot of their co-workers, the Guns that is, think very highly of them and think they're going to be, the heel team of the generation or whatever the hell, however you want to put it. I can't see it right now. And that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I've missed much bigger things. I didn't see it in the Acclaimed, right? 6 months ago, whatever it was. So sometimes it takes a match to click for you. Is it fair to say that if we assume they're going to wrestle FTR at some point in a major match, they're going to need that one to be good, right? I mean,
for sure.
They need to, because it sort of like with them, I always think back to, and I know it wasn't their fault necessarily, but that CM FTR match where Punk gets hurt, when he like misses it, it just, obviously they're young, so they're not like pros enough to kind of go with it, but they were, and obviously, Punk gets hurt. It's a weird situation to be in, but they were all over the place in that match. They couldn't get their footing back.
100%.
They were like, I think Colton takes a bump and Punk didn't he didn't even throw anything at him. It was just, and that to now, I do think they've gotten better, but I don't think like FTR, if this is going to work, like they got to take it off them immediately as soon as they come back, because I don't trust the Guns to keep this up of like, especially the expectations that we have for that division and those titles. It's going to be tough, but they need that match to be good. And then we can, consider where we put them in terms of like the heel tags, which they don't have a lot of to begin with.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think we can all agree they've done a good job making the most of the character work, right? And being, good heels. And I guess the question becomes, are they the kind of good heels that need to be the world's tag team champs, or are they better as like undercard comedy stooge guys? I personally lean the latter, but they have this angle with FTR, and the assumption is currently this is a way to transition the belts. Dukes, where do you think that's happening at Revolution? How do you map out this MJF FTR transition for me, if indeed that's what you think is happening?
Yeah, I think it'll be Revolution. I feel like if you I feel like that'd be a good thing to open the show with. I know they don't usually open the show with title matches, but I feel like the crowd will be rocking for that, especially if FTR is their first match back. I don't know if they wrestle somebody, or maybe they wrestle the Acclaimed in a number one contender match or something on Dynamite, and they win that one. But yeah, I think Revolution is the spot for it.
Is it fair to say, fellas, that if this is just transitioning back to the Acclaimed, they'd have been better off just keeping the belts on the Acclaimed the whole time, right? I think we can all agree on that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's such a specific direction they've taken. It feels like it has to be FTR, honestly. If not, I kind of think they may have just lessened the belts in along the way, because I think that's the only kind of way that makes this.
Yeah, the only reason is it has to be that so that they don't split the Acclaimed love, and when FTR comes back, that's got to be it. To me, it's something that makes sense.
Yeah, I know. I think the plan is that FTR are going to be kind of like babyface aces for these belts in this division. That is, compelling, and I'm certainly into that as a FTR stand, so to speak. But they're going to need to build some teams, right? I mean, they just are they can get a certain amount out of Butcher and Blade, and they can get a certain amount out of Jeff and Jay. I'm sure they can have a good match with them, but they need some pay-per-view opponents, man. I mean, they can do babyface matches, but if they're going to be pure babyface aces, then they're going to need to build some teams. I saw Aussie Open were kind of in the news today because of that tweet that Fletcher tweeted, right? Was Kyle, right? Which was insane because they would be the best heel team in AEW by a mile. So I assume something's up there. The Kingdom's a good one that they could have a good match with, but as Nolan Gunn says, they can't, it's not exactly a box office match you're going to run over and over. So they have some building to do. And FTR are a great base. Obviously, you've always got the Bucks match in your back pocket. That's kind of distant right now because the trios belts. But yeah, a lot of moving pieces here. The one thing I'll say is I don't think this got exactly the live reaction they were necessarily looking for. It felt more to me like, really? Rather than, fuck this, I need them to get their revenge. Chris,
and I feel like there's another world where this match happens and the Guns impress and it's oh, okay. I get it, but the way that it happened and there was the kind of the nothingness of it made it even more oh, okay, we're really doing this now for most people.
It's also that weird, it's that very particular lane of heat too, where I've seen some people argue that's also why it works because no one thinks they should be the world tag team champs. And I'm always hesitant with that line of thinking, because that does sound a lot to me like it's supposed to be bad, bro. And that's very scary. I don't want to walk that road. But there is some, there's a nugget of truth to that, right? The idea that the audience is not these guys. It can be effective. We need to just see what they do with FTR because, they're a meat and potatoes team. They're a very kind of basic team, which is not in time. They're brand new. And if any team can have a good match with that sort of team, it should in theory be FTR. So let's see where they go here. I'm really into the deal with FTR putting their run on the line. I'll say that. I think that's. I know we can't talk about it on the flagship. FTR kind of doing the deal of we can't win these belts here. It's over. We're leaving. I think you can get people will think they know better than to believe it. But when they hit them with the belts and do the same near fall, people will absolutely shit themselves on that. That's going to happen. So, yes, me too, bro. So I like that as a kind of way to juice it up a little bit. But look, let's be real. I mean, if FTR are coming back, I can rock with whatever. That's where I'm at this point in my fandom. So we shall see. I mentioned the trios a moment ago. Another highlight of Dynamite was the trios title match. We had the Elite opposite the Top Flight AR Fox combination. I think this was a great example of just how special the Elite are in so many different ways. Number one, their ability to just completely escape the limitations of this placement, right? the crowd was exhausted after Roosh and Danielson. After like 4 minutes of this match, they said, "Well, I guess we're watching this one too." You know, like they were in again. And also, and Ibu talked about this on the review show that you guys tried to block from happening. He talked about how like this was clearly not the Elite showing off their own stuff so much as it was spotlighting the other team. AR Fox was mostly kept out, out of the picture for this match until the finishing stretch where they let him do everything to them. Like he got like 4 near falls on Kenny. Unbelievable performance, and obviously top flight AR Fox were very much worth the showcase. I like this very much. Dukes, what did you make of the trios title match?
Yeah, it fucking ruled. And the fact that they can do this match immediately after Roosh and Danielson is why Dynamite fucking rules so much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Just complete opposites, but just thrillers in their own way.
Yeah, man, like the variety, right? That kind of wrestling festival vibe, the wrestling, that wrestling buffet, so to speak. It's and look, I know not either style is going to be for everyone, right? Like, there's definitely people that watched the Roosh match and was like, it was too kind of gruesome. I'd imagine in some way. I'd imagine the main event was too gruesome. So other people will find this one to be like too spot oriented. I think as someone who enjoys professional wrestling, there's a place for both. Personally, call it a hot take. That's where I'm at. Chris, what did you make of the trios title match?
It was really fun. Man, like it says a lot about the Elite where they could do their trios matches where they're pretty complex, and bringing in like these really young guys, and kind of throughout the match you could tell Kenny was like running point a lot, and he was just being able to, with so many moving pieces, make it flow well with guys that are so inexperienced was great. Obviously they gave them a lot, which you love to see. And I thought the finish was great. I thought it really looked at some points that AR Fox was going to steal it with the roll-ups. And I just love that type of storytelling where it could go either way, because they're, throughout the match it was kind of balanced out like that. And yeah, man, Kenny did a great job of just giving them a lot, specifically AR Fox towards the end. And I love that trio of Top Flight and AR Fox. I think, you could get some good matches out of them. With that trios division, like trying to build it up like that. I think that's one of those makeshift tag teams that just really works. Like they, even presentation wise, like they work really, really well together. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was great. I thought it said a lot about the Elite as like, professionals, being able to get that done. So yeah.
Yeah, and they had the gear this time, right? They had the kind of the unified outfit. That was pretty cool. Dukes, is there a conversation to be had about the trios teams that are currently available? We often talk about the tag teams not being quite where they were. I could be completely just forgetting people. I might be. But I remember when we would talk about the trios belts, there was like, we would list a bunch of trios. And it feels like in the time from that to the trios belts actually existing, those trios have sort of somewhat faded away.
Yeah.
Is there a concern at all, Dukes, for you in terms of like how many trios are actually kind of on the docket lined up for the Elite?
I wouldn't say concern, because I think they could realistically wrestle anybody and figure it out, and they could just put together kind of anybody that at least makes a little bit of sense. But like you think about it, like the Best Friends, Orange has the All Atlantic title, so he can't be in it. Santana maybe is coming back. You can do LAX with Eddie. The House of Black, who I think they were my pick actually. I thought they were going to win it off the Elite at Revolution, but I don't really know if they're going there anymore. Yeah. And Death Triangle, they just wrestled them 7 times. So.
Yeah, there's some. By the way, I want to quickly mention this because the firm came up here. Do you fellas remember that the Gun Club were in the firm?
Apparently.
Shouldn't Stokely be happy about this? They won the world's tag team titles. Does he not get like a cut of this in some form or fashion?
That was like their whole goal too. Remember when Stokely introduced the firm? He's like, they're gonna win the world tag team titles.
And regardless, even if he's distanced himself, like he should just come back and be like, yeah, we
I did this.
It. Like,
I swear, because I was looking. Someone asked me who was in the firm, and I was like trying to figure out who the team was. And I said, "Oh my god, it's the tag team champions! It's Austin and Colton. They were in the damn thing." I remember
it adds, this. It adds credibility to both. Like it adds credibility to the group that everyone thinks is a joke. That's true.
Dude, they were badass coming out with Big Bill. That was a good look.
That is an all-time great comment. They had to leave the firm due to winning matches. It's a fucking incredible explanation. They should actually say that on television. That's good shit. All right, let's move now to everyone's favorite segment, the illustrious Vibra, which once again Actually, no, let's mix it up this week. This week's Fleet Week Vibrator is presented by the returning Historical Oracle.
It's my favorite bit.
Every time I see that, it makes me laugh. I have to say, it's tremendous. Good lord, we got off to a flyer here. This is tremendous stuff. We have impeccable vibes here for the first 3 recordings. We have the MJF Takeshita match. We have Takeshita getting blood. We have the King of Television exposes war fraud again, which was an incredible promo.
True.
Talk us through, lads. This is a hell of a start we got here. I mean, this is unprecedented, is it not?
No, I think it's been higher actually.
It's definitely been higher.
Yeah.
Broke the scale before. Last week we ended with the scale being broke. Yeah, it's fair. All right. Jamie Hayter hits people hard with a slight drop. I do want to quickly mention that match was actually going along really nicely.
Yeah.
And I thought the bunny was like genuinely impressive in matching Jamie's physicality, and it just fucking shit happens, man. It's no one's fault, it just is what it is. But hopefully she's okay. I saw that she did a meet and greet of some kind on Friday, maybe. So it seems like she's, okay, relatively speaking. We don't know anything about it, but she was there, so which is a good sign. So there you go. Okay, we have ANWOL.
I don't even remember what that was.
I assume that was the Tony deal, right? Tony Soraya segment.
Oh, is that when they beat up Leva Bates?
Okay,
Yeah.
now listen, folks. You can draw as much entertainment as you want from Leva Bates getting beaten up. This being anywhere above pop, but bad is one of the most insane things. That segment was ungodly. I couldn't fathom how bad it was. It was filth, true filth. Why were they talking like that? Why was Leva Bates selling like that?
They're heels.
Exactly. They're so bad.
They're heels.
It's so funny when she says it.
Boys, I'm dangerously close to just like ending the mission on this one. I don't know, fellas. I don't know what I can do.
To be completely honest, I do not remember this.
It was bad, Chris.
They spray painted Leva Bates.
I remember that. I don't remember us like talking about that segment when we were.
Oh, me neither. This was like I'm putting it on Tope, to be honest, especially the names.
I
don't even know what Infinity Gauntlet is.
Here's the deal here. That's the Starks match.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So I was kind of intrigued by the idea of like Soraya being like the shit talker for Tony. Early indications, not encouraging.
No, baby girl thing is like she's just baby girl every promo.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Catchphrase.
I would like Soraya to really find like a rhythm here. I'm increasingly unsure we're going to get to that point, which is a shame because it'd be cool if she had a nice run in AEW. Right now, she appears to be struggling to me. And Tony is not a strong enough personality to overcome such a thing. So it's
That's
like
the problem, man. That's the problem.
It is a really dangerous combination. Like I was for turning her because I think it's worth trying. But I'm watching it and going, oh my god, this could have a bad effect on both parties. We will see. Nonetheless, Tope liked it, which is what matters most.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out here.
Yes.
Freya is officially on Fraud Watch. Our new.
I second that.
We don't have a graphic for it yet, but it's coming. I think. I don't know.
This is our only graphic, dude.
Okay,
we'll have more eventually. We have another segment too.
My God, it's hard to keep up around here. There's so much going on. MJ Flair vibes, which I suppose that kind of was a thing that happened, I guess. Impeccable. We've discussed that. I respect it, fellas. I like. I mean, the Arn Anderson reference was a bit much, but a lot of people liked it. I get it. Okay. We then plummet to mid for the Infinity Gauntlet, which was Ricky Starks opposite the JAS. I actually enjoyed the Garcia portion of this match, so I have no problem with being mid.
I was going to say we should have split it in two.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say the overall thing, what's actually happening in this story, probably warrants a lower rating, if we're being honest, right? This feud is... It's just not good, is it? It's just, yeah. It's like no one knows why they're fighting. There's no semblance of like who is fighting. Like he's just got Action Andretti on his side. It's just... I don't know, man. I'm not even doing the like Jericho kills everyone bit because I just frankly can't bother to even do that argument right now. It's it's exhausting to me. But this isn't helping anyone. And in fact, I think it's so apparent watching it. I think the JAS thing may have run its course, which is, it's been a year almost, right? It's almost 11 months we're at now. So I don't think that would be like a travesty or anything. I just don't know. Where do you feel
It has been a year already.
interest left in the JAS thing?
I think it has been over a year, hasn't it?
They shot the angle after Revolution, right?
Oh, it was after? Okay.
Yeah. Because remember, he was supposed to shake Eddie's hand.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's talk about this quickly because Matt said this to me similarly. Third page of Larry Bird said, "Lads, this gives me absolutely no pleasure because he seems like a great guy and he's very talented, but I'm getting dangerously close to selling my stock." I love some stock selling talk here on the Fleet Week in Ricky as a main eventer. I just don't know if he quite has that extra. I think he's maybe hit his overness ceiling a bit. Now, Matt was talking to me about this on Thursday, being kind of concerned. I'm personally still pretty bullish. Where do you fellas stand on Ricky Starks? You selling the stock or are you buying more? Where do you stand?
I'm sitting on it right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm definitely not buying more.
But I'm definitely not selling either.
Yeah, that's the problem. Because I think he has it. I really do. But I think we're at the point now in this feud where, with a lot of Jericho feuds, right, where we're in circles and it's just like, when does it end?
Mm-hmm.
Because realistically, like, okay, they had the match. It's like, what are we doing now? Like, I get the gauntlet to get to Jericho shit that like we do all the time, but it's like, what are we doing? We're so far separated from, and it hasn't even been that long. We're so separated from when Ricky was like challenging for the title at this point, it seems. That you're just like, the longer you separate him from presenting him like that, I feel like the more steep that climb to get back up to, people saying like, oh, he's going to be a main eventer at some point, you get right, because I think he has it, but it's just you can't lose the interest, and I feel like that's what they're doing with this.
Yeah, I agree. And the reason I was kind of hesitant to frame it as like a Jericho thing necessarily is because I don't think he's benefiting from this at all. I think she's just called everyone off involved. Now, the reason that there's kind of implications is because there's a belief Chris is involved in what's going on, which is probably fair, but that's not really anything. I don't know who's pitching what, right, ultimately. So I think this is actually a better encapsulation of the problem here from Frank, who says the problem with JAS feuds too is that it automatically becomes a group feud. Ricky would benefit more from a heated one-on-one. I agree completely. It's like he kind of looks dumb, right? Like fighting him on his own, and his only friend is Action Andretti, who wasn't there this week. So I don't know. Look, we're analyzing this from a million directions. It's just not a good feud, ultimately, right? Regardless of who's to blame or why it's happening, it isn't a good feud. I'm still pretty bullish on Ricky because I think this is not really on him, to me anyway.
I agree.
And I thought there was a lot of good work even in the Garcia match. So I don't think he's a bad. I'm not anti-Ricky as a worker either, so that's just me. We shall see. Let's move to R2 here. I already know what that last one is. It's all shit. All right, we're back. Impeccable vibes here for the Roosh Bryan match. Now, how old is Roosh and Dragon actually above Impeccable?
Slightly.
That's not when Dave gives 5 1/4. I was like, is that necessary, man?
Yeah, there was again debate over this because we can't just put it higher. Yeah. The Dukes is very particular about the placement when we break the scale.
Fair.
So yeah, there was some debate about that.
That's fair. While I just mentioned Frank a moment ago. Quick shout out to him. He resubscribed with Prime 3 minutes ago. He says, and I quote, "Pop, been with us now for 7 months. Thank you so much, Frank. We appreciate you. We drop off here for Joker Merchants. Pop, but bad. What's that?
I have no idea.
I cannot tell you.
All right, chat. Does anyone have any
Somebody
idea?
help.
They remembered Dynamite well enough to know what Tope would have named Joker Merchants.
It's in between Roosh and Bryan. Oh, it's the Impractical Jokers.
Oh,
that was more literal than I thought it was going to be. Actually.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Pop, but bad is perfect for that. I think it's fair to say. They don't stop jumping. Good.
I told him he need a better name for this. He did not listen.
What's this?
The fucking trios match because they were jumping a lot.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I know.
What are we
He's
doing
washed.
here?
He's so washed.
Good lord, man! All right, there you go, folks. That's back to impeccable. We then drop off slightly for Hook Propaganda. That one's pretty good.
That was right, yeah.
Firmly between good and impeccable vibes. Back up to impeccable for Mark.
Briscoe.
Of course, the graphic, right? Okay,
Yes.
good. I was thinking, what did smart Mark Sterling do? And then we do fall here. We see mid for Anu, but the immediate recovery of FTI is coming home, impeccable vibes, which is pretty much what I think we all went through, the three of us, you know?
Yes.
It's true.
Real grabs. Now we get to the controversy of the program. We plummet to my table.
Yeah.
Which I believe is a reference to the aforementioned Dax the Axe and his content in
my
promos.
table.
Yep.
My wife. My daughter.
This is a quote. Backup Brock steals hungry young lion's spot.
True.
Headline.
I have made many a comment on this matter. I felt we had to draw a house on Wednesday and went to pack them in, brother. I've heard a lot of criticism. I've heard some praise too. Dukes, Chris, what do you have to say for yourselves here before we leave this this behind us forever?
I'm going to make another comparison here.
Yes.
This is just like when CM Punk was the WWE champion.
Mm-hmm. That's ironic.
He was not in the main event. They had Johnny Ace main event the fucking pay-per-view. And CM Punk was on the card. It's bullshit.
That was pretty stiff. That was a little much. That's maybe the most aggressive thing anyone's ever said about someone else on those shows. That was a little much.
I thought that was a little much.
Oh, come on.
I mean, firstly,
you just compared him to Johnny Ace.
I wasn't comparing their personalities.
Let's circle back. Let's actually look at what Dukes just did here, folks. Okay. Number one,
I'm right again.
Presented the Young Lions as CM Punk in 2012. Crazy enough.
I mean, he's not far off there.
I mean, it's a little much, but fair enough.
The most consistent people on this platform.
Then
wow, that you see that.
That may be true. Then compared Backup Hangman of Wrestle Purist fame, or as he's officially branded now, Ibu of Wrestle Purist, which I respect. He has now been compared to Johnny Ace, who most recently was in the news for publicly disgracing himself. This just to make it clear. Is there any intention to kind of take that back, Dukes, or are you sticking to your guns on that?
I'm not comparing them as people. It was simply I'm working. All right.
Okay. Well, there you go, folks. The vibrator's in the books.
I have no problems with Ibu. He seems like a nice guy. He's not Johnny Ace.
I'll be sharing the screen with Backup Brock in about half an hour here for WrestlePress Worldwide. So this has been the Fleet Week Vibrator. Once again, it was presented by the Historical Oracle.
Okay, hold on now. Ben, we did not reschedule because of our availability. We rescheduled because America. Okay,
true.
We're American.
True.
Super Bowl. It's there you go. Okay, it's not an availability issue. Dukes and I are professionals. But forget the fact that I missed the first show on this.
Dukes just saluted.
Football.
Forget the fact that I missed our first Fleet Week show. That didn't happen. It was a different time.
To be fair, you didn't say you were consistent. You said you were the most consistent people on the platform. It's very different things.
It's so different. Yeah. It's so different. Yeah, and I think it's true.
I do too. All right, let's proceed here. Let's talk with some Rampage. The show that you've been waiting on. Viewership was interesting this week. I saw much discussion. Dukes, have you dived into that yet? Have you looked at the demo and all that good stuff? I know you're big on that stuff.
Oh, I only watched the opener. So,
fair. Well, that's probably the main thing to talk about, right? The trios opener, Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio, Mox, and Utah opposite, Kip Sabian, the Butcher, and the Blade. Butcher is now bald, which, Chris, you were very fired up about in the DMs, which I respect. Good kind of indication of your priorities. Again, I respect that. Co-signed. This was damn good, actually. I thought this match was really, really good.
Oh, no.
My God.
I think he froze for a little bit too. I was looking.
I think it was a case of the Butcher being bald.
It could be.
Dukes, what do you think of this opener?
I thought it was pretty good actually. I was a little surprised. Kip Sabian is still not off Fraud Watch. He's not off the
Wow.
list. To all the pro boxman people in the chat, I'm sorry. But he's dressed in the Blackpool Combat Club. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had a nice little moonsault.
Now, contrary to what Dukes just said, who Chris, I don't know if you saw that, but Duke said that Kip Sabian is still on Fraud Watch. You had a tweet today, Chris, that was sent to me by 25 different people. They were alarmed. They asked me to check in on you.
I'm mad about it.
You suggested you were back on board the Kip Sabian hype train, so to speak.
I am.
No.
Are you sticking by that? You're sticking by that?
I will say publicly on here, clip it, do whatever you want. I'm back firmly. Now, I'm not only back, I'm firmly back
Firm?
on the box train. I think his selling in this match, Nias, impeccable.
Oh my
impeccable.
God. Use that word on this show? Wow.
I thought his selling on the elbows, I mean, I thought he got knocked out. I mean, it was. I think that's the best he's looked in a very long time. Again, I think at the very least, he is a solid hand. At the very least, I don't understand the disrespect. I understand he's British. Fully understand that that's a reason why you guys might hate him. Anybody might hate him. Fully understood. I get that. I have to work with British people. I understand.
That's true.
I understand it, but we're taking it too far. We're taking this way too far.
We're
You guys
taking
are
it too far?
You are taking it too far.
Bullshit, man.
This whole idea that he's bad, that Kip's bad, it's not true. Is the character stuff much? Is it much sometimes? Yes. I will say yes, it's a little much. But in the ring, guy can go. He can go.
Folks, I think Chris is right.
No,
go.
Now, let me tell you something. I watched
He's
this match.
fine. He's like,
Hold up, Dukes. Let me paint the picture. I was watching this match, and admittedly, I was eating a Big Mac when this match was on. It was around 3:15 a.m. It had been a night, you know what I mean, one of those days. And I was eating, so I looked up on occasion. I heard mostly JR's commentary, and JR seemed to be enjoying himself. Right, so immediately I'm in a good.
John Moxley's in the match. Of course, he's
every
enjoying
time
it.
I looked up, Kip did something that looked competent. It looked good, dare I say, passable at least. And then I returned to my Big Mac and I said, "Fucking hell, he might be good." And I wasn't gonna go public with it because I have some shame. But Chris fell on the sword for me. He said, "I'm gonna do it," and I think it's only right that I support my young cohort and say I think I saw it too. I think he's good. He might be.
Guys,
I
go
have
back.
never missed Tope Suicida more.
Go back and watch.
Hold on.
When Mox has got him in the corner and he's just fucking peppering him. Look at Kip. Guy can go, man. He can go.
The beautiful thing about this as a piece of podcasting performance art is that in a week we find out, right? In a week we come back together. Actually, in 2 days we're going to find out. But we'll talk about it in like 6 days. We come back together for the real truth, the real answer. Kip Sabian is running it back with Hangman Page. Apparently, they had a match many years ago in AEW that everyone hated. I have no memory of this.
Apparently, it was like 19
You won't
minutes.
be able to say it's bad.
Yes.
It's gonna be
I know.
very fun.
You
won't be able to say it's bad.
Stuck, bro.
That's the best thing about what Chris and I have done here. We've cornered Dukes here. He can't because he's either gonna have to dunk on a Hangman.
If this match is like more than 10 minutes, I'm calling the police.
It's going to just be a freestyle match, and it won't even be like a funny bit, but we'll just turn it into one for the sake of content, But like, he's all right. No, genuinely, I think he's solid. I just, I'll be honest. I wouldn't have him on the show as much as he seems to have been on it recently. From my I can't lie. Granted, I'd finished the Big Mac by this point, but I will concede that when he reappeared later to intercept the Hangman thing, I did yell. I gotta be honest.
I agree. I got very upset too. I was because I was upset because I was like, damn, I'm gonna be able to go on the show and say that Kip's back. And then once they did that, I was like, fuck, I might have to,
and
hold back.
His reason for it was like, you're mad at Moxley. I'm not mad. And he just kicked the shit out of me. And I was like, well, I mean, this feels like a bit of a reach, Tony. I thought you could book someone else, but nonetheless. So, Chris, did you see the All Atlantic main event, the Lee Moriarty match, or not?
Mm-hmm.
You did. I thought Lee looked pretty good. What did you make of it?
Orange Cassidy mat work. Love to see it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought when I saw Orange, I think it was I don't know what he went for, but when he had like the weird landing on his elbow,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, oh, that looked bad. And then Lee just works that arm the entire time, and they tell the whole story of like the orange punch or
Yep.
whatever. I thought they did a great job. Obviously, Lee, like they gave Lee a lot here. This went I don't know how much exactly it went, but
It felt
it
like a
felt
pretty
long.
lengthy match. Yeah.
Right,
Agreed.
exactly. And that makes me feel confident in like how they view Lee now, where I think he's gonna, I think that's a title that he can take at some point in like not I
Mm-hmm.
don't know near future, but like at some point that or eventually the TNT or whatever. I thought he looked great. I thought
Yeah.
just fundamentally he's always been great, but like mat work, especially with somebody like Orange who has his his style.
Yeah.
He's kind of he's versatile enough, but yeah, I thought especially for somebody that young working with Orange, which can kind of be like its own thing,
Mm-hmm.
or it was at the beginning, he did a good job.
Yeah, I was impressed. I've been looking to be too because I was a big fan of Lee, and I think he kind of plateaued at some point. But I thought he looked good here. I also this isn't much. I'm not going to do like a victory lap about it because that'd be weird. But I actually thought Marina and Ruby was pretty good. They only had like 5 minutes, right? But like I thought it was a pretty steady match. And listen, folks, there's no polite way to put this. I really am rooting for Marina. I would like it to be in matches that are like fun and good and competent at least. And it's like this was, I think, the most comfortable she's looked to me.
Right.
So,
Well, she's in there with a real worker.
yeah, well, I mean, but let's be fair. Marina's been there with some good professional wrestlers and looked very, very uncomfortable before. So,
I agree 100% with Brucey. Like this is the most comfortable I've seen her.
Yeah.
And obviously, her being good and sticking around is good for us because a couple of years down the line, who knows what who she brings in.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, man, she looked too comfortable. I'm surprised. Like it was that short because it felt longer, and I was like surprisingly okay with it because it was actually pretty good. And that honestly made me more excited about the match on Wednesday because Ruby, she's been bringing it her last few appearances. And oh yeah, just Marina. She's off Fraud Watch now. I'll take her off Fraud Watch. She was solid.
I didn't even know she was on it.
I put her on it.
More news, folks. There you go. Rampage is in a really interesting place, fellas. I really enjoyed this show. Again, I did have a Big Mac, so maybe that was part of it. Jim Ross, I love. It's just great. I look, as Jim, to quote Jim, I just like seeing him out there. I must say, though, as much as I enjoyed the show, it does feel telling that Young Dukes has watched one match from this show. And Chris, you messaged me about 3 hours ago. I was like, what should I watch from Rampage? Because that is kind of the actual, like even when you watch it and you enjoy it, that gets to the sort of core of the problem, right? And there's been other weeks where I've watched it before we went on here. It's like, it's a good show, but there is no real attempt to make it feel must watch. And it shows most when fans like us, who are definitely hardcore fans, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I'll get to some of it, I guess. Like it's very different from where the show was when it premiered, where it felt like, for an AEW fan, it kind of felt like destination TV for a while there.
Yeah, especially the way it was branded, where it was like, they're both A shows. It's very much not. To me, this is like at this point, it's closer to Dark than it is.
I agree. To
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dark and Dark Elevation, I did watch those this week.
Good,
and folks. We've got a new top tag team on our hands.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
we do.
My Outrunners? God, the fucking Outrunners, baby.
They're gonna work with Dax and Cash, right? That feels like a lock. Yeah,
give them to Dax and Cash.
They fucking rule.
Give them to the ass,
Joe.
Yeah, sorry, it was good.
Oh my God.
Was it one of them said I'm a grown man or something? Like, what did they say?
You're looking at the youngest men to ever live.
Yeah, that was. Sorry, I remember it was being like that insane line.
The speedboat dream boats.
Look, and we're not doing a bit, guys. If you haven't seen it, you need to go out and watch. Like, if you're not watching Dark, find that clip. They're for real.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, I know they were promoting themselves pretty good, and they've kind of committed to having some character and personality. So I'm glad they've found themselves somewhere that can pop people. We'll see what they can do in ring with good teams in real matches. Jury's out on that front, but fun
they have
promos.
Like a really weird finish too. Pops me.
Of course they do.
They're just fun. They're fun.
Mm-hmm. I agree with what you said, Chris. I actually think a lot of stuff on Rampage feels like it'd be the ideal version of like the C shows, like some
that
of
Jungle
these
Boy
matches.
That Jungle Boy match should have been a Dark match. Like,
Yeah, I agree. Which, by the way, there was a spot in that Jungle match that was hilariously just left in the edit that was bad. How you were supposed to edit a 1 minute match, I don't know. Maybe worth finding a way, brother. I mean, it was quite the deal. But nonetheless, I enjoyed Rampage, so I can't criticize it. It's not surprising it didn't get high viewership. Dynamite is interesting this week, fellas. It's not quite someone said that they were going to have a kind of, if you follow Tony's booking usually would mean a call-off week. And they were certainly correct, I think, looking at this. There are pops, though. Texas Tornado match. I think we're all fired up for it. Roosh and the aforementioned Preston Vance opposite. Is it Monks and Claudio?
Yes.
Do we think Roosh is wrestling Claudio at Supercard? What do we think?
I
What is
think
that?
he should.
Yeah.
Definitely should.
I think the problem with that is it feels like you should kind of win, which is then what does that mean, right? Because it's just because then he'd lose in a big match.
He's going to win the world's title, so.
Fair. So you have that there. You have Mark Briscoe and Josh Woods, which I know not everyone's into Josh Woods. Personally, this is a big pop for me. I just love Mark wrestling on TV at all. But this is a fun matchup. And, Woodsy, yeah. Mark was great in that promo, by the way.
Oh, that rule too, yeah.
Of course, and I like Woods, so I have no problem with that. Pop me. We've got Ruby, Britt, and Tony, which I think we're all kind of intrigued by. We was intrigued before, and we'll see what we do here in terms of finish and such. The Hangman Kit match we've discussed. The Acclaimed closed Rampage and have seemingly been transitioned to a different thing. I wonder what that means, fellas. They're back to wrestling Jeff Jarrett again. Interesting. Very, very interesting. That match will be fun.
We're back.
Brian Cage is running it back with Jack Perry. When Brian Cage came out on stage, Excalibur said they had a classic match on Dynamite a couple months ago. Interesting. Must have missed that one. I saw the nice freestyle match they had at one point. I didn't see the classic. Must have been an episode I didn't see. Nonetheless, Dynamite looks like a slightly, step down, but let's be fair. The last few weeks, all like pay-per-view cards is what it is, right?
And a lot of times these cards that don't have a lot of hype going into them, end up kind of ruling anyway.
I agree. I think it'll be a good time. And ultimately, who gives a fuck? Mark Briscoe's wrestling, right? God bless. All right, there you go, folks. There's Fleet Week. As we wind down here, as always, we'll ask the fellas if they have any plugs or promotions. Dukes, I have a feeling I know your answer, but do you have any final words, plugs, or promotions?
No.
Tremendous. Chris, what about you?
I don't think so. Oh, I wrote news this week for the first time in like 2 months for Monty. It was very, very fun. It was at like 8 a.m. and I was just awake.
Tremendous.
But yeah, I guess check that out. Keep supporting Fleet Week.
Absolutely.
The rest of the shows on the platform, but the most consistent show. Support us, please.
We should be able to live on the Sunday slot for a while now, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no football on business. Hopefully Tope will be back. We send him our best. That whole shit flag on the play, am I right, boys? Whole shit.
True.
I actually watched the whole game, which makes me doing this bit even funnier. But again, let me reiterate: Fleet 50, 1 week. Send them to me, joeholbert05@gmail.com. Your top 50 in-ring performers of AEW's 2022. We're going to reveal those at some point next week. So you've got a week to get your ballot in, a week from today. So get that in, joeholbert05@gmail.com. All right, tomorrow, another loaded day. We got the Jay Chill and Joe show at 3:30. And then at 8, we've got the return of the historical Oracle to about July 1996. He's finally back. Yeah. The big man is back. Wednesday, there is no Dynamite Grin Along. If the show is awesome, I'll do a post show. If not, I will simply do a day without doing a podcast on Wednesday. We shall see. Thursday, the flagship. We have a few things lined up for the flagship. We're going to be talking who should beat Maxwell, Jacob Friedman. We're going to do it in kind of long form fashion and kind of come up with a big board, so to speak. That was inspired by you fellas and the friends on Discord. We had a pretty fun conversation with that, right? So I think that'd be a good thing to do on the flagship. We're also going to talk about the New Japan show that's coming up on Saturday because, of course, there is a watch-along on Saturday for that very show. So that'll be a hell of a time. Myself and Matty going to be watching Battle in the Valley. Some others will pop up, I'm sure. We'll see what happens. Sunday will now be a double-header. Fleet Week will air at 5 Eastern, as always. And whenever Fleet Week ends, Bobby Two Shoes and Oracle are going to be going live for Fed Dead Redemption. It's a new thing. We have a block on Sundays, probably wrapping around 7:30 most nights. It's about 2.5 hour block, maybe 3 hours on more extravagant nights of the Oracle of Wrestling. They'll be premiering on Sunday for a review of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which is happening on Saturday. So there's a lot going on. Much to look forward to. Speaking of such, in about 15 minutes, we're going to be live on WrestlePurist, so please go there. Make it clear to Monty in his DMs that you only watch WrestlePurist for Joe Holbert, and then do like a $1 emoji deal. I'm told that helps. So
Money.
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 I'm actually really excited for that match. So,
Me too.
all right. We appreciate you folks. Keep watching, keep grinning. All hell. Enjoy this outro. I'll see you on Worldwide.